Welcome to another video. I'm actually still working really hard on my long project, which you're going to see around mid-May, but I thought this week we'd take a little break from it and we'd do something really nice and really quick and just something very fun. Most importantly, something sewing again. Because I felt like I could really use the very quick rush of dopamine that you get from finishing a sewing project. So last year I did a collaboration with Simple Retro and they sent me this dress and I absolutely loved it, but the thing was when I put it on me, I didn't really like it all that much, and I think that was partly due to me having started propranolol last year, so that's a medicine for panic attacks, which I'm still taking up to this day, and somehow the medicine in combination with my eating habits just led to me gaining a lot of weight very quickly, and I felt quite uncomfortable with it. I've managed to lose most of the weight, but it was just a combination of kind of like these very short sleeves, I mean very short for me, and they were just so tight, and the entire dress just kind of felt like, I don't know, it looked nice on the pictures, but it just wasn't something I wanted to wear every day. So I put it into my summer storage over winter, you know, with all of the kind of like lacy dresses. And then earlier this year, I opened it, and it's always a bit of a surprise because I'm like, wow, I completely forgot I owned this stuff. So I took this one out and I remember the negative emotions I felt around this, kind of like being like, oh, I didn't look that great in it. I didn't really like wearing it. I was a bit uncomfortable with it. So I put it on. And I have been obsessed with it since. And I've just been like, you know, what is it about this dress that I love so very much? Because obviously I have a lot of dresses. So what's different about this dress compared to any of my other dresses? And upon critical reflection, I realized it's the neckline. Because most of the things I have a very high neckline, which is something I'm very comfortable with. But I realized it is actually the collarbones that are now starting to pop again. Just to show you a little close-up of my collarbones. Not something I thought I would ever say on the internet. So I realized it's that. It's such a girly thing to say. So I went up to Jack and I went, have you seen how great my collarbones look in this? And Jack was just like... So he didn't really appreciate the collarbones. I am now obsessed with this dress, and I was like, you know, I should make myself a blouse that is the same fit as this dress. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to take this dress as an inspiration and make a blouse that's similar to the neckline and the style of the dress. For this, I'm going to use the marigold pattern from Stitch Maiden, which is a small business based in Germany. They sell their patterns on Etsy, and I've been working with lots of their patterns throughout the years. Really like them. They have good instructions for beginners as well. So their pattern is actually for a dress. I'm going to use the top part of that and just reshape it a bit to become a blouse. So let's see whether I can make something that makes me as happy as this dress. So with that, let's get started and let's do some sewing. 'Tis sewing day, also referred to as Saturday by the lay viewer. Today we're going to get a lot done in one day. So I have got my bed sheets from Primark. These are 100% cotton flat sheets. You can also use fitted sheets, but it just means you have to like cut open the little elastic on the side to lay it flat, which is a bit annoying. Normally I prefer bed sheets from Asta, which is a very niche thing to say, but this is 100% cotton, so I felt like you just can't really go wrong with it. Okay, there's someone by the window who's looking into the window and I'm standing in front of the camera. Please go away, go away, go away. Away. This is an off-white color. I think off-white always works better with my complexion than stark white. So as for the pattern, I'm using the marigold dress pattern from Stitch Made. So this is the back. It works with princess seams, and then I've got the little panel in the front and the back piece. The only thing though with modern patterns for me is always the waist doesn't hit the right spot. My waist is super low, so often I have to extend the waist by at least an inch. But another thing about blouses and working with modern patterns is I'm not usually a fan of the armhole, because I like the armholes to be super tight. So basically if I'm wearing this nicely fitted blouse and I lift my arm as such, I don't want it to ride up. So if the armhole is really tight, it won't do that. Because if it did that and I put my arms down again, you'd have all this bulge of blouse hanging over your skirt, which is really annoying. So that's just something I really like to work with. You may have seen this pattern before. This is my very trusted blouse pattern that I use for any bodice really. Most things I make are somehow altered off this pattern. And just to show you what I'm talking about when I talk about armholes, because this pattern is just like, it fits so perfectly. So this is the nice and tight armhole compared to the modern one. So I'll just use my trusted pattern as a guide in order to fit it to the shape I want. Additionally, you can see the modern pattern ends about here, whereas for my pattern the waist is an inch lower. And then we've got the little peplum, which just, you know, can be tucked in so that, you know, your blouse doesn't rise over your skirt. So I will use this as a guide for the length and the armhole, and I'll adapt all of the patterns to it. Let's get going. Okay, I've got all of my fabrics cut out, and now we're just gonna go straight to sewing. Also, if you're someone who likes to see fabric pre-washed and pre-ironed, I think I've got bad news for you. This channel isn't for you. I don't have the time to pre-iron things before I sew them out because I literally have like 5 hours or something on a Saturday to produce an entire thing. So ironing is not one of the things that I use my time for. Quite honestly, this is a mock-up that I'm planning to wear. Yeah, if you were offended by that unwashed, unironed fabric, I'm sorry. Also on that note, I did another change as I was cutting out the fabric. There's this little cuff to go on the sleeve, and it's supposed to be around about, like, if I hold my microphone, I can't show it, around about here. I just held it onto my arm, and it was a bit big, so I just chopped an inch off or so, which means the sleeve itself will be a bit too wide, so I'll just pleat that into the cuff. So I think the way I'll do this is I will assemble the entire thing without overlocking any of the seams, and then I'll try it on, because at that point I can see whether it fits, and it's got quite easily accessible seams. So all of the princess seams I could just go back in, make them a little bit smaller or something if I wanted to, as long as it's not finished yet. Also, because the dress has a back closure with a zipper, but I am genuinely not able to close back closures. So like a zipper I can do if I put a little bobby pin through the zippered foot, but if it's buttons I just cannot reach. I don't know, I'm just old, I guess. But I thought to make it easier, I will have like a hidden closure, kind of like where the front flap goes over. Obviously the cat comes just as I'm about to start sewing. Tilly, why do you do these things? You know, I love you, but also this isn't productive. Try on time. So I have finished the garment, as in like very, very crudely sewn all of the pieces together, not finished anything, not ironed anything. For the front panel, I've just so far pinned it in, because that one would have to be actually finished for it to be put in, but I'm not sure if I will like the shape it is. So let's just give this a try and see whether it fits at all. So I think it's a good thing I did not actually sew in the front panel yet, because it's a mess around the shoulders. It's too much. Bust just about fits perfectly. Waist, the way I've constructed it, fits quite well as well, but obviously I've got like these massive hip bones, and especially once I'm wearing my corset. So as you can see currently, I need to give myself more fabric down there in order to accommodate for that. So I may just cut out the front panel just with extra fabric around here to accommodate for that. So with me getting my iron out, I thought it would be a good opportunity to do a little bit of a chat with you guys as well, and I don't know, talk you through what's going on in my life. So basically, as you're watching this, I will already be in Germany. I've mentioned before, I am German. You may know this from the fact that my earlier videos are in German. I have, throughout the years of living in Scotland, greatly avoided going back to Germany as much as possible. When the lockdown happened, I basically used that as an excuse to not go back to Germany for 4 years. So my family wasn't all that happy, but I don't like traveling at all. It makes me so anxious. Like, it terrifies me, honestly. And I just always have that fear that I'll get sick and I won't be able to get home. And for years, I had this recurring nightmare. One day, I just wake up and I realized, you know, I'm actually still in Germany. And I somehow have to get back to Scotland, which is probably just a reminder from my master's when I had to briefly move back to Germany after having moved to Scotland. And I knew I was moving back to Scotland because Jack was here and I was just planning to stay here for good. I just had to start my master's in Germany. And I did it for a year, and then my master's project happened and I moved back to Scotland for it, and that's kind of like where I stayed forever afterwards. But so that year in Germany, I don't know, it was traumatic. It was just, yeah, with Jack here and us being freshly in love and everything. And I had to fly forth and back between Scotland and Germany all the time. And it was kind of hard getting time off with my master. So I just kind of go for a weekend. And it just felt like my life was in Scotland. Tilly was here. It wasn't ideal. And I was really scared that what I had here, I would lose it. I know I would lose Jack. I would lose my chance to come back. And I'd just get stuck in Germany because I've, I mean, if you followed me on, especially on Instagram for a longer time, like let's say like 2018-ish, I used to speak more openly about my problems with Germany and, you know, reasons why I moved away. And I'm not going to go too much into detail because obviously everyone has different experiences. And I know that many people like Germany. It just wasn't my experience. The idea of being stuck in Germany and not being able to come back to Scotland terrified me because I found this new home in Scotland where people were really kind and really open-minded. And, you know, I could dress however I wanted and I could be the person I wanted to be without always being harshly judged. So I was very protective of my new life in Scotland, and having to return to Germany was very scary. Once I moved here for good, I wasn't all that keen to return, which my family wasn't all that happy about. For years, I didn't go back, and actually my wedding was the first time I saw my parents again after I moved to Scotland, because they came through for my wedding, which happened during lockdown as well. So I'm going back for the second time now. Last year Jack went with me and we both surprised my grandma for her 90th birthday, which was quite nice. So this time I'm going by myself, which is going to be fun because, as you know, I get very bad panic attacks. So that's going to be a great thing to do. So I told my parents I would come back once a year from now on, and it's been a year. So I said I would come in spring, and then coincidentally there was also a school reunion thing that was planned, and my mum used to go to all of her school reunions, so I thought that's just kind of something people do. But when I told people here that I was going home and I was also going to a school reunion, everyone was like, "You're actually going to a school reunion?" I'm actually really looking forward to seeing one of my friends again, because I used to be quite close with her in high school. As things are, especially when you're me and you are really terrible at keeping touch with people, we just didn't talk all that much throughout the years. And then we really bonded again over books. So a little tip to anyone who wants to find their way into my heart: talk to me about Wingspan. That means there won't be a video for the week after this one that you're seeing, just because I won't have the weekend to produce content, to film stuff. So okay, I've ironed everything, and some of the wrinkles just won't go out, but also this is part of the reason why I don't really iron things all that much, because I'm not very good at it. But I think it's pressed enough to continue on from here, so let's do it. Okay, so there are some issues. So first of all, the sleeves are much shorter than I actually expected. So when I fitted the cuff to my arm, I kind of fitted it to here, not there. So I had to actually put a little wedge into the finished sleeve because they were too tight on my chubby little arms. Whoops, something's wrong with the neckline. So it may be because the pattern actually called for facing and I used the bias binding, so that could be an issue. Or it could just be the classic problem that I have with everything, basically that I have the tiniest shoulders in the history of humans. Or maybe I've got a sway back and that's why I always have too much space around here. I don't actually know. But this happens with so many patterns. So what I'll do is probably just put a little dart into the back right here, because I've got a lot of spare fabric there. So I think this would solve the issue with the neckline. If you're looking closely, that kind of sits a bit better, but that still leaves us with the problem that it's pretty boring looking. But we will cross that bridge once we get to it. Okay, so I have fitted everything and it fits quite well, but I still am very underwhelmed with how boring this looks. So I guess the dress I have actually has the embroidery right here and also has some lace applications. So now that this just basically leads to closure, I'm thinking maybe I just start applying some lace. Because originally I just wanted a little blouse to wear underneath something, but I've just tried it on with a vest, and even with a really interesting vest, it is still quite underwhelming. So I do have this antique lace that I got off eBay some time ago, and I've been using it for different projects throughout the years, but I do really love this, and I always felt like I wanted to apply this to some kind of blouse, but often that felt a little bit over the top. But with this blouse being very underwhelming, maybe over the top is what I need. So I'm thinking it would maybe look quite nice if there was a strip kind of like right here. And then with the sleeves, especially now trying to hide the little, let's show you this, the little wedge that I put in. Something that I've been thinking about doing for a while with some of my other projects, but then never ended up doing because it was just too much. But just kind of like fitting the lace around here. I don't know. I think that could give some interest at least. Maybe I'll apply the lace, and then once the lace is on, I'll see whether I want to have visible buttons or something completely invisible. Let's see. Let's get on. I'm almost finished. I just need to hand stitch the closures on. This was more difficult than I expected it to be. I thought this would be an easy, quick make. Now it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, still have to wash my hair, still have to tidy the entire house before Jack comes home. Like halfway through, before I started applying the lace, you kind of saw me going a little bit like, I'm hoping that I'll get a lot of wear out of it throughout the spring. I feel like it's quite a nice short sleeve, and then the lower neck, and it's hopefully going to be one of those things that I'm quite comfortable wearing a lot. With that, I'll see you guys in the reveal. Oops. Welcome back. So the reveal was actually shot as part of a collaboration with Voria. So what you see me wearing, like the little vest and the skirt, are both from Voria. And I feel like the blouse worked quite well with a vest over it, because I'm still not amazed by it. I feel like the lace applications definitely saved it before I was just like, another failed project. But I think it's fine. It's not as great as the dress, so I don't put it on and I go, I am a goddess. But it does the job. is a blouse. But I do quite like the sleeve. It's just, I don't know, something about it. Maybe it's just because it doesn't have the buttons in the front, because normally that's what I like to have. It did work out, but I'm not overly amazed by it. But then again, I feel like with this entire look, it looks quite nice. It's just, if it's just the blouse by itself, it's a bit underwhelming, but oh well. I hope you still enjoyed this video, and I won't see you next week, but hopefully I can bring out another video the week afterwards. So I guess, I don't know, like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.